Hello there.
Hi there, and I know that we still have some platform issues, but I believe you're willing, in a feat of science, to share your screen so you can have control over your own slides. Is that so?
Yes, technology is a wonderful thing. So I have my screen coming up. If you can maximize that for me.
That should
There
be
we go.
now.
Awesome. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Dragons. I really look forward to talking to you today about Redbridge's Hawkeye BAM platform. My name is Dan Gill. I work for Redbridge Analytics, which is the software arm of Redbridge Debt and Treasury Advisory. I've had a rather interesting treasury career for the past 23 years. I've worked with some of the largest companies and their banks, focused almost exclusively on bank fee management and bank account management. So I've been doing this quite a long time. I've seen a lot of stories come and a lot of things go. But I'm happy to be here today to show you our latest component of the Hawkeye ecosystem that we call Hawkeye BAM. Hawkeye BAM is the companion module to our award-winning Hawkeye BSB and Hawkeye Card solutions. And it's built to solve all of the challenges that corporate treasury faces with bank account management. So Redbridge is a global debt and treasury advisory firm with more than 20 years experience delivering expert advice to corporate treasury departments. One of the things that makes us unique is that we're also a software company. We build specialized software to help give treasury detailed insights into their operations based on experience that we've gained through countless operations. Now, let's talk a little bit about BAM and maybe a little bit of the history of BAM. So in the early days of what I call Swift EBAM, because EBAM tends to mean different things to different people, I was a part of a task force that worked with Swift and banks and corporates and technology vendors to build the ground rules and harmonize the 15 different message sets that make up Swift EBAM. We quickly realized that there's many different definitions or what people think bank account management means, and so that task force developed a definition of bank account management that I have up here on the screen. It consists of the policies, procedures, and actions to open, close, and modify bank accounts that a business holds with its banks. This includes the negotiation and management of services and fees, the mandates or the contractual agreements governing those accounts, the authorized users or entitled employees that have authority over those accounts, the methods of communication regarding those accounts back and forth with the banks, with other systems, both internal and external. It also includes managing the interrelationship among accounts, whether that's pooling structures or ZBAs, just knowing how all the accounts relate to each other. And then, of course, that touches all on regulatory reporting and compliance. So BAM is bigger than just knowing all of the accounts that you have in your inventory. Hawkeye BAM is designed to give you a completely customized interface that has screens designed the way your company thinks, using the terminology that you use, making it your system for your environment. It allows you to have truly the perfect database for your situation, for your accounts, for your employees that have authority over those accounts. It tracks all of the standard information surrounding your bank accounts, but it also allows you to track completely dynamic entities that may be a part of your specific structure, things like virtual accounts or lockboxes or MIDs, etc. We set out to build a system not to give you the Redbridge way of doing BAM, but a system framework that adapts to your needs. So let's talk a little bit about how this is all broken down. So this is just a diagram of some of the 4 pillars that we break the BAM problem into. And I break it into these 4 pillars because if you solve these 4 things, then you're able to truly manage everything from end to end, both internally and externally with your banks. So it's important to have what I refer to as a perfect database, all of the information using the terminology that you use, customized for the way that you use it. The problem is that data never sits still. And so I need to have a way to manage changes. Signers come and go. Authority changers come and go. Accounts are open. Accounts are closed. We acquire companies. This data never sits still. And it's a thing that I call churn. And so I need to be able to manage my controls, my policies, my procedures around the opening and closing of bank accounts so that I can demonstrate to auditors, to compliance folks, that I actually have control over this which at the end of the day is what I'm trying to accomplish with BAM. Demonstrate control, reduce risk, eliminate fraud potential, and things like that. So built into Hawkeye BAM is a complete workflow engine that allows me to design and complete changes to things. But we've had a lot of talk about this today. It's one thing to have the perfect database with every record exactly right and under our control, but if the information that the bank holds around about my bank accounts is different from my records, have I really achieved anything? And so today, most companies communicate the changes to their bank accounts pretty much in the same ways we were doing in the 1970s. It's slow, it's expensive, it's ineffective. We've heard a lot about Swift EBAM so far today. For a long time, I was certain that Swift EBAM was the solution to synchronization of information, and that's what I call it. I call it synchronization because really what we want to do is have the bank's records agree with ours. We need them to be synchronized. In Hawkeye BAM, we recognize the reality that all of the banks will not adopt Swift EBAM. Some of them simply are going to refuse, some of them won't ever catch up. And if you think about it today, the idea of passing files back and forth to each other to communicate this information is no longer cutting edge. And so I expect that we're going to see far more complicated, more technological advances in this, and Hawkeye BAM is there to support this. I certainly expect that we'll see some banks developing, and I already know some banks are developing APIs that allow this bank account change information to be communicated. And of course, if you think about this nature of synchronization, a shared ledger like a blockchain makes a whole lot of sense here. And I think that's probably the direction that this will go. And because of the foundations that we've laid, the base of these pillars for Hawkeye BAM, we really have a lot of options to support and give you whatever way your banks are equipped to communicate. Of course, we need to have ways so that humans aren't required to do all of the watching and the working. And so all of this can be powered by AI, by machine learning, things that learn about what's happening in your process so it can watch for anomalies before they happen, so you can know things about when an employee leaves and automatically trigger a workflow to make sure that the banks get notified that that employee is no longer authorized to do things on the accounts. When we combine then all of those customizations, the perfect database with workflows that are customized to you, with synchronization to your banks, we then open up a lot of other things that we can do that are tangential or related to bank account management, but they become a lot easier. Things like managing the differing KYC requirements of each bank, which is a nightmare at least equal to BAM, right alongside of it. If you live in the US like I do, you've become a huge fan, I'm sure, of the FBAR, the foreign bank account reports that your employees have to file. That is a BAM topic. And so a system that has all of these things pre-thought out really gives you a lot of ways to do it. So I'm just going to show you a real quick tour of Hawkeye BAM. This is our Hawkeye BAM system. And you'll notice here at Redbridge, we do a lot of things with graphical interfaces. So each user gets to build their own dashboards that look at things. But like I mentioned, everything is customized to each company that has it. And that was one of our key goals that we set out to do. And that is this idea that if I can give somebody their terminology, the screens that they want to have, using the verbiage and the things that they want, I'm really going to have a lot more success in making things customized. But every field, every screen, every workflow is customized and designed for each company that uses it. And so as this is running a little slow, I'll go ahead and stop there and open for questions. I look forward to them.
Would you like to, sorry, David Kellin, would you like to come in and ask the first question?
Thanks. Yeah, thank you, Dan. That was really interesting, and I really liked your comments around demonstrating control and synchronization. And I agree with everything you said. I guess what I'm slightly missing something in that if I'm a treasurer sitting with a treasury management system, for example, and I've got all of my accounts set up there, and I'm using my treasury management system to look at my visibility of accounts to do my payments, and I probably want to get connection between your system or a system to my Treasury, so that if I change something within your system, then it automatically updates my Treasury management system. Is that the future, or is that possible today? I mean, having these and you mentioned the word synchronization a couple of times, and is that what you were talking about, or is that something that is further down in the future?
No, I think that is today, and I think that's the perfect question. So synchronization is a couple of things. One of them is this idea of synchronizing with my banks. But another one, even bigger, is synchronizing with the internal systems that I have. So you mentioned the TMS. That's pretty obvious, right? Our intention with Hawkeye BAM is that it becomes the primary source of truth for the inventory of bank accounts and those employees that have authorities over it, and it synchronizes out to other systems. That includes HR, because I need to know when employees come and go. That includes ERP, that includes TMS, that includes IT. At the end of the day, there need to be wires or connections to the hub so that the source of truth feeds into or out of all the other systems.
Got it. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, David. We have got a lot of audience questions, but I'll take one more Dragon's question if there is one. There doesn't need to be. Royston?
Yeah, I've got to come in, Dan. When you mentioned blockchain, you immediately got my interest there. But I also understand, I recognize you mentioned APIs potentially as the kind of what's available today. What I'd like to hear from you in terms of blockchain is how far down the road do you think it would take before, or have you already implemented a kind of arrangement with any of the banks using this technology?
Yeah, that is a good question. So like everything in this, perhaps one of the biggest challenges is that the blocker in most cases tends to be the banks, and the adoption of technology on that end. I think it's why sessions like this are so important, because we saw it with bank fees, with the delivery of BSB files, with all of these things. It is pressure from the industry that gets banks to take action. And so I have not seen any blockchain banks talk about BAM and blockchain. But if you think about the idea of a shared ledger, it just makes sense here from that. So we need to continue to pressure banks to adopt that kind of thing.
It is encouraging, though, to hear that some central banks are beginning to adopt the digital currency concept. So hopefully,
it sure is.
Some banks are beginning to buy into this.
It sure technology is.
Thanks, Royston. Thanks, Dan. I can see we have several banks present, so feel free to make it clear in chat if you're willing to take part in the Great Treasury Dragons blockchain experiment. And I'm sure Dan will be happy to have a chat to you and see how we can make that happen.